Hi, it's Laura at Aquamarine 18. Thanks for stopping by my channel today. Welcome or welcome back. I am here with an installment of Tarot Vlogmas 2021, started by Brian at Papa Squirrel. I will link Papa Squirrel's video below where he explains the challenge, and I'll also list all 31 daily prompts in the description box. In this video, I want to share responses to the prompts for days 11 to 15. And so for day 11, the prompt is gingerbread. What should you indulge in? And I interpreted this as what should I indulge in over the bit of a break time that I have towards the end of this month. And what I should indulge in, this is a very easy choice. Rest. Particularly for me, the Four of Knives and the Slow Holler. The Four of Swords or the Four of Knives has to do with resting the mind and calming and slowing those racing thoughts that keep one up at night. And so I need to indulge in that kind of rest where I step away from, the everyday demands of work emails and things like this, and just take some time for myself to recharge. That's what I should indulge in over this season. Day number 12's prompt is Rudolph. What light do you bring to the darkness? And I went somewhat literally here when I chose the moon as a light in the darkness. But as an answer to the question, I think that, for me, the moon, yes, it has to do with the unknown and perhaps illusion, the possibility of being misled, but it also really has to do with the mysterious. And the mysterious is really seductive. It has to do with fantasy. It has to do with the imagination. And so in terms of a light in the darkness, to me, fantasy and imagination and imagining new ways of being and new ways of living, that is where hope is. And that is a light in the darkness to me. Day number 13 is Scrooge. Where could you use more love, either to have or to give? This was also a pretty easy choice for me. And I chose the 8 of Stones to represent my work life. Like many of us, my work has been totally upended and transformed by the ongoing pandemic and, the realities of that and, the measures that have been needed to try to keep people safe as best as possible. And in the context of work, it's been really difficult to, in many ways, relearn how to do a job that I've been doing for quite some time, how to best support students through very difficult and atypical school years, and to feel confident that I'm doing well in my work, in this new ways of doing things. And so I feel like in terms of where I could use more love, it has definitely been a challenge this year to love what I do in the ways that I have loved what I do previously. So that's been difficult. And that's why I chose the 8 of Stones. Day number 14 is ornament. What holds you up that you don't think enough about? This was a bit of a tough choice, and I had a couple of ideas for it. But I got hung up on this piece about that you don't think about enough, right? What holds me up that I don't think about enough? And I landed on choosing the Oracle, which is major arcana number 2, or would be, the High Priestess card. And in terms of something that holds me up, that supports me in my day-to-day life in really meaningful ways, is my intuition. honed and developed through lived experience. And I feel like I don't always necessarily think enough about that or acknowledge that enough, particularly when, as somebody who is a diviner, who reads tarot and all of those things, often, when I'm talking about intuition, or I'm thinking about, connecting to intuition, I'm thinking in terms of, reading the cards or looking for messages or perhaps meditating and these other kinds of practices, and not always necessarily thinking about the ways in which my intuition guides me throughout my day, in really meaningful ways. So that's why I chose the High Priestess for prompt number 14. And question number 15, or day 15, is Slay. How has the Chariot been impactful for you this year? And this is the Chariot card from the Slow Hauler. Like many other Chariot cards, there is, quite a static nature to this image. I will say, going most literally here and taking the Chariot to represent a vehicle, my vehicle has impacted me this year financially by having a number of problems. I drive a quite old car that has needed quite a bit of work this year, which has not been a very good impact. But more kind of thinking in terms of tarot meanings, in the guidebook, this card is associated with breaking free of constraints, and it's also associated with this kind of moment of deciding on a course of motion, right? And this is the way that the guidebook kind of talks about the almost stillness in this image and in this card, is this kind of moment of choosing a direction, right? And in terms of that kind of impact, of that kind of thinking, this year there've been a lot of places that has been the case for me, in terms of thinking a lot about taking potential new directions in my life. And certainly, taking on Druidry has been a major new direction in my life this year, that I'm really happy in, that has been really transformative already, and it hasn't been that long. But I've also been thinking a lot in terms of my quote-unquote mundane everyday life, about potential new directions around work and things like this, and also some creative projects that I've had some ideas for, that I've been hesitant to make manifest, have been perhaps indecisive about what those creative projects would look like. And so thinking about the chariot as thinking about that direction, right, and taking a direction, those are some of the areas that I've been perhaps taking that cue from the chariot so far this year. I will say I haven't actually had the chariot show up in a high amount of readings over the past year. I do kind of keep track, but thinking about the meanings of the chariot, that's how I would connect that to my life this year. So those are my responses to days 11 to 15 of Tarot Vlogmas 2021. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to watching other folks' VRs as well, and I will see you in the next installment. Bye.